A former staffer and fundraiser for Governor Bev Perdue's campaign pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice in a Wake County courtroom December 14th. But Peter Reichard offered an Alford's plea of guilty in which a defendant admits the state has enough evidence to convict, but doesn't admit to being actually guilty of the crime. He made the plea before Superior Court Judge Donald Stevens.
Having discussed the charge, the nature of the charge, the range of possible penalties that you face, and the elements of the charge, do you feel like you're satisfied that it's in your best interest today to plead guilty to this charge?
Yes, sir.
Did your lawyer explain to you, and do you understand you have the absolute right to plead not guilty and be tried by a jury?
Yes, sir.
And you understand you have the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses against you?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you understand when you plead guilty, you give up all those constitutional rights. You don't have to do that, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You also understand that upon your plea of guilty to a felony, and this is a felony, that certain privileges will be forfeited by you during the period of the sentence?
Yes, sir.
Is it now your desire to plead guilty to this felony offense?
Yes, sir.
Reichard was charged with hiding the fact that his company supplemented another Purdue staffer's salary and didn't report it as a campaign donation. District Attorney Colin Willoughby told Judge Stevens a clear message needed to be sent in this case.
Sadly, this type of behavior is becoming the expected norm in campaign finance. I believe we should demand more of those persons who directly influence our elections. If the courts and the community don't take this type of behavior seriously, I don't think we can expect the public to have confidence in the electoral process or in our government. The integrity and credibility of our election process is reflected in the quality of our government and who we are as a state and a country.
Judge Stevens said he was surprised a person of such good standing in his community would get caught up in such foolishness.
It was very clear to me, and ought to be clear to everybody in this courtroom, that the fundamental principles of democracy, the most basic fundamental principle, is a free and fair election, conducted in accordance with election laws and rules of the state. They apply to everybody. And obviously the purpose for those rules are to make it reasonably certain that a level playing field applies to all the candidates. And without any of those rules, we'll end up with, and we do sometimes, possibly, an absolutely uncontrolled free-for-all in which honesty and truth and fairness is completely abandoned, where money talks and where money frequently tries to buy an election.
Judge Stevens suspended a sentence of 6 to 8 months in prison and instead put Reichard on unsupervised probation. Willoughby wanted Reichard under supervised probation, but Stevens said Reichard didn't actually benefit from the scheme. Reichard was also fined $25,000 plus court costs. Reichard is one of 3 former Purdue staffers indicted. Julia Lee Sitton was also charged with obstruction of justice and making false reports. It was her salary that was supplemented by Reichard, and she didn't report it. Treyrick Buzzy Hamilton Stubbs was charged with obstruction of justice and making a false report. He arranged campaign flights for Purdue but didn't report them. The cases against Stubbs and Sitton have been continued until the new year.